Hey guys, so I've been asked a lot of questions by my coaches about the questions which their clients ask them, and I'm talking about the clients whom we're handholding to scale up their business. And I'm going to take an opportunity over here to answer some of these burning questions based on a lot of challenges which most entrepreneurs face today. And all these challenges are mainly based around feedback and delegation, and I believe these are core areas where entrepreneurs focus a lot of their time and also go wrong. So I'm going to take some time off to actually answer a few of these questions so you have clarity on how you can provide feedback better and how you can delegate more effectively to get optimum results. It's a very important question to answer because having a two-way ecosystem is very critical to create a win-win-win workplace. So some of you may have heard of this philosophy which we keep talking about, win-win-win, which equals to that in any organization, the philosophy should be is that the employees or the team members need to win, the clients or the customers you're serving needs to win, as well as the business owner needs to win. And when all of these three wins come together, that's when it's the perfect synergy to build a sustainable, long-term and successful business. And ensuring that there is a two-way feedback which is given even from your juniors is critical to make sure that win-win-win takes place. So how do you make sure that you are encouraging juniors to give feedback to seniors, as well as how do you make sure that people are able to give this feedback in an effective manner so that it makes sense and it achieves the respective outcome? So I'm going to give you 4 points for you to consider which will help you to create that ecosystem where juniors are effectively giving feedback to seniors. Step number 1, you got to set up that ecosystem in the first place. Rather, not step number 1, I say this is point number 1. You need to make sure that people in your team have an understanding that they have the permission to give feedback, which means you got to set it up in the culture. You got to have orientation sessions where people need to know that giving feedback is not only encouraged but is required, because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody needs to know that they're going in the right direction. It's not always necessarily a mistake. Even seniors like to get feedback because that gives them reinforcement that what they're doing is right or what they're doing is wrong. So people need to know that they have permission, and that entire ecosystem needs to be set up. And one of the ways of doing that is while a senior is giving feedback to a junior, in that conversation to start encouraging their behavior itself, the senior can always ask the junior, is there any feedback you have for me? And to break it down, you can come up with specific criteria on what kind of feedback you want from your junior and ask them to give specific feedback on what did you do well and ask them to share that feedback with you, or what did you not do well and ask them to share that feedback with you, so it helps them to think. I'll tell you why this is important, and please understand the psychology behind this entire question in the first place. For a junior, it's not like they don't want to give feedback. Everybody has feedback to give and it's all running in their head. The problem is that the fear is always there that if I give this feedback, will the other person take it in the right way, or will it lead to a conflict? And that is something which really stops people from giving feedback. On the other hand, I want you to understand that even for a senior, it's not like they don't want feedback, because feedback is not an evaluation. Feedback is a response which makes sure that you have the confidence that you're going in the right direction or alter the direction so you achieve the outcome. And feedback is required for everybody no matter what. So having this two-way conversation is very critical so that the feedback comes out. Because I'll tell you the other consequence. If your juniors don't give your seniors feedback, it's going to remain over here and it's going to become a conversation which can lead to gossip, lead to politics, and actually leading to conflict. So creating a mechanism and a culture where people are open to giving feedback even to their seniors is important actually to avoid conflict. It's actually a strategy of conflict avoidance or conflict management. So first step is to actually create that ecosystem where people understand that they have the permission to provide feedback to their seniors. The second step is that while you are giving feedback to your seniors, what you got to remember is to set the right kind of context. Understand this. What is the fear of your senior while they're receiving feedback? That you're not going to use this as an opportunity to blame them. So set that context up that the whole purpose of this conversation is to provide feedback so that there's a better outcome to your working relationship. and they need to understand where is this feedback coming from, so they don't have any opportunity to misunderstand your feedback. Think about this. When there's lack of clarity, it leads to misunderstanding, and any misunderstanding always leads to conflict if it's not mutually sorted out. So setting the right kind of context so people have a reference point of taking it in the way you want them to take it. That's what I mean by setting the context. That's the second focus area for you, to make sure that your seniors receive feedback in the right way. The third focus area is that while you're setting the context, a very important point is to clarify what is your intention of this feedback. And the mistake you can make over here is to assume that people will get it. Sometimes, rather not sometimes, more often than not, you got to make it obvious. You got to literally tell people, my intention of giving you this feedback is blah, 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 blah. Very, very critical. Let me give a simple example. Let's just say you want to give your senior feedback in the way the person holds you accountable. And you've noticed in the past that sometimes your senior is aggressive with you, or doesn't really explain to you in a proper manner, but rather gets emotional and can lead to you getting hurt. You can always say this feedback by setting the right kind of intention, saying that the intention of me giving you this feedback is so you and me have a better working relationship, and I can really understand what your challenges are, what your concerns are, and respond to you better. That is my intention of giving you feedback. I want you to understand by you saying this how the other person takes it. The other person understands what's your outcome, and it reduces the opportunity for any kind of conflict. So conveying your intention in the most explicit manner is very, very critical for people to take it in the right way. And fourth, and I believe this is the most important aspect of giving feedback to your seniors, is for you to be specific. If you are vague, it creates the opportunity for conflict. Be very specific, tell them exactly what you're talking about, and the best way of being specific so that people understand it better is to support every single feedback with an example so they know what you're talking about and they can relate to that feedback. Any kind of behavioral feedback, make sure that you have your homework ready, but don't use it as a way to justify yourself, because this is not a conflict resolution conversation. The point of giving an example is for them to understand where your feedback is coming from, so they know what went wrong or what went right, and they know what to do differently to create a working relationship. So to summarize, 4 focus areas for you to make sure that as a junior, you give effective feedback to your seniors and people receive that feedback. Number 1, as from an organizational perspective, create an open feedback ecosystem where juniors have the permission and they know that they have the permission to give feedback. Number 2, make sure that while you're giving feedback, you clarify the context of this feedback so people know the background and where you're coming from. Number 3, while you're communicating feedback, specify what is your intention of giving this feedback so people know what's the outcome from your point of view. And number 4, while you're providing feedback, make sure you're specific, and to make sure the specificity works, you support your feedback with relevant examples so it helps your seniors relate to it much more better. And while you follow these 4 simple points, I'm pretty sure that this will create that relationship between you and your senior to have a mutual feedback conversation to have better working relationships.